Child mysteriously goes into a coma, suddenly wakes up screaming, "I know the truth about my mom." Jonathan woke up in a hospital room, feeling groggy and confused. Machines beeped around him, and tubes were connected to his arms. "Easy there, Jonathan. You've been through a lot," said Dr. Shane, a kind middle-aged man. "What happened?" Jonathan croaked, his voice hoarse and weak. "You were in a coma," Dr. Shane explained gently. "You and several other children. It's been an odd situation. Some troopers found you by the river and brought you here. It's a wonder you're still alive. We're still trying to figure out what happened." Jonathan was confused, attempting to recall what had caused his unconsciousness. As the doctor spoke, flashes of memories returned to Jonathan. He remembered his mom's voice warning him to run away from something perilous before everything went dark. "My mom, is she okay?" Dr. Shane explained, "We're doing everything we can to find your mom and the other missing parents. The police are involved." Officer Williams and Dr. Shane showed up together. Dr. Shane introduced the officer, and he politely asked Jonathan if he remembered anything. Jonathan shared about his mom's worries about polluted water and how she had threatened to do something about Mark and his questionable factory. Mark was his stepfather, and Jonathan always felt something wasn't right about him. A few days ago, while Jonathan was playing with his action figures, the news in the background talked about more people getting sick and kids falling into comas. He overheard his mom's worried voice, talking about contaminated water and implicating Mark in the intoxication of the town due to his questionable business practices. Jonathan couldn't find his mother the next day. When he asked his stepfather about her, Mark lied and said she had gone to a friend's house. Jonathan became suspicious and decided to look into it. He secretly followed Mark in his truck and found his mother's backpack. Listening to Mark's phone conversation, Jonathan learned about illegal medicines and contaminated water harming the kids in town. Jonathan had to find his mom. He couldn't talk to Mark directly, so he collected proof to show the police. Jonathan figured out Mark's nighttime habits, thinking his mom might be there too. That night, hiding in the truck, Jonathan risked everything to uncover the truth about his mom and the strange sickness in town. His plan worked. Jonathan saw Mark go into the garage and quietly got into the back of Mark's truck without being seen. As they drove away, Jonathan overheard a phone call. Mark's factory was making illegal medicines, and the chemicals were making kids sick. Jonathan knew he had to stop Mark and his friends from hurting more people. Mark, with a mean smile, caught him trying to escape. He pulled Jonathan out of the truck and sneered. But Jonathan, even though he was scared, stood up to Mark. "You can't keep hurting people like this," he shouted. Mark, not backing down, grabbed Jonathan and dragged him back into the rundown factory. Inside, Jonathan's worst fear came true. His mom was there, unconscious. Mark tied them both up tightly, making sure they couldn't get away. Time passed slowly, and as night fell, Jonathan's mom began to wake up. They quietly planned their escape. Jonathan's mom told him about a nearby creek, their best chance to evade Mark and his people. Around midnight, they put their plan into action. They managed to untie themselves and sneaked out of the factory. They heard Mark's associates and their fierce dogs chasing them. Jonathan's mom led him to a creek, telling him to cross to the other side to confuse the pursuing dogs. Fueled by fear and determination, Jonathan hurried, but he slipped and fell into the cold water, struggling to stay afloat. The water felt thick, and he found it hard to swim, feeling dizzy from the factory fumes mixing with the water. He heard a gunshot from the side of the river where his mother was, but before he could turn around and look, his vision blurred and he floated away. The last thing he remembered was being pulled out of the sea by muscular arms and a man in uniform. Until he woke up in the hospital today. In the hospital room, Jonathan finished recounting the events to Dr. Shane, who listened intently. Jonathan's first and biggest concern was the safety of his mum, as he feared that she did not manage to escape that night. The next day, the whole town joined forces to help find the missing parents and punish the lawbreakers. Then, unexpectedly, Jonathan's mom walked into the hospital room, safe and sound. Jonathan hugged her, tears of happiness in his eyes. His mom had escaped from the bad people but stayed hidden to protect Jonathan. She told him how his courage had helped catch the lawbreakers. The factory where bad things happened got closed down. The water that made kids sick got cleaned. Jonathan's mom got hurt, but the doctors made her better. The town celebrated Jonathan, and the sick kids started waking up. The police caught the bad guys, and they got punished. Jonathan became a symbol of hope. He learned that courage and determination could overcome darkness. Together with his mom, they faced the future, their bond stronger than ever.
Subscribe for more content like this. And don't forget to hit the bell button so you can be updated right away for new uploads.